Hello everyone, it's the Embark Avenue, I'm Eric. In this video, I am ranking the top 10 tallest roller coasters in the United States. However, it's not based on their height, it's based on my enjoyment of the rides. So this is going to be a somewhat different type of list. Typically, I do rank on personal enjoyment, but when it's based on height, you wouldn't expect it to be based on personal enjoyment. So for each of these rides, I will list the height, but I'm more going to talk about what I enjoy about the ride, and show that stats are not necessarily everything. Subscribe to the channel first so you know when new theme park content comes out. Now let's begin. Number 10 is Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain. A 235-foot tall roller coaster. Its stats are grand, however, the intensity of the ride, not as much per se. There is very little, as we call, airtime. For those who aren't really into roller coasters as much, airtime is that feeling when you're flying out of your seat for a bit, and I just don't think Goliath offers as much. It is a decent ride overall. The first drop is mildly forceful, and the helix is very strong in that regard. However, I think the ride is somewhat lacking, and it's a pretty weak hypercoaster overall. Number 9 is Superman Escape from Krypton, also at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This one is 415 feet tall, but it is very short. Short but sweet, some might say, but I don't know. I do think it's very fun. The main thing that stands out is the fact that you go pretty high up, and when you're going backwards, looking down is quite a blast. I think the worst issue is that it's a launch roller coaster. It goes 100 miles per hour, but it feels more like 60 or 70. At its best, it feels somewhat fast, but it's not a fast or super intense roller coaster overall. A fun little ride, but not really the most high thrill, despite the great speed. Number 8 is Titan at Six Flags Over Texas, a 245-foot tall roller coaster. This one is similar to Goliath, but far superior. The main thing that stands out is that pretty much every aspect is improved. I think their multiple helixes are good. Both are intense, more intense than Goliath in fact. The pacing is more consistent, and I think the intense moments outside of the helixes land pretty well. Of course, the airtime hill and first drop are still kinda Goliath level, but I do think it's a pretty solid ride, and I very much enjoy it. It's definitely a huge step up from number 9. Number 7 is Intimidator at Carowinds. This one is 230 feet tall, and I think it's pretty fun. The main thing is that it has a lot of floater airtime, so you're out of your seat, kind of pushing against the lap bar for a very extended period at multiple different points. This is not a sensation everyone enjoys, something that's a bit too gentle and not as intense, but I love it, and I very much think B&M Hypers, which is the model that this roller coaster is, are some of the best and honestly most overhated amongst thrill seekers that there are, so I very much enjoy Intimidator. Number 6 is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. Owned by the same chain, this one is 305 feet tall, and I think many call it the most intense roller coaster out there. I've talked about it a lot before on the channel, so you'll want to check out videos that relate to that. I'll keep this brief. Basically, many think it's the most intense coaster. I think it's fairly intense, but not really that high up there. I like it a lot, and honestly, the first bank turn is the highlight, but there's stuff that just doesn't seem quite as good as the other rides on here. I'll leave it at that. Number 5 is Orion at Kings Island. Those who are really into roller coasters are probably screaming at their screen right now, and they're typing on their keyboards about how Intimidator 305 is better. Well, I'm sorry, but for now, I like Orion more. I really enjoy the first drop. It's top tier. The wave turn and speed hill are especially strong, and the other elements are grand and fun. It's kind of an upper scaled B&M Hyper, which you would expect because it's a giga roller coaster by the model. 287 feet is nothing to be upset about. It is pretty much a giga coaster because of the 300-foot drop. I'd say it's a giga coaster personally. I love the ride, and I just think Orion gets a bit too much flack. Number 4 is Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, going to 420 feet tall. This one is much higher than the rest so far, well, except for Superman, it's pretty close, but it is a blast. The launch, and yes, this one is now closed, but I'm counting it for sake of this list because when we talk tallest coasters in the world, nobody is not considering Dragster. But it is a 120 mile per hour launch that feels way more intense than Superman. It is one of the most thrilling moments on any roller coaster. This ride is short, but it is far crazier, more thrilling, and more fun than the others so far. Number 3 is Kingda Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure, the tallest roller coaster in the world at 456 feet. This one is like Thrill Dragster, but even more intense. I think the launch is a bit more gradual, but it builds up speed way better. The ride feels more intense, you get pushed back way further, and it is a absolutely scary experience. I think it's probably the most intense and biggest rush of any roller coaster I've ever been on. It's one of my favorites out there, and it definitely earned a high spot as a result. Only issue is that, once again, it's fairly short. Number 2 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. An underrated ride in my opinion, I know, but 310 feet tall, nothing to scoff at. The first drop is my favorite on any roller coaster, and the very complete experience and layout makes it better than the shorter Thrill Dragster and Kingda Ka for me. I love the airtime moments, and the one turn into the tunnel after the overbank is one of the most intense moments on any roller coaster I've experienced. This ride is called forceless often. People think it's just a very mild experience, but I think the ride holds its speed better than anything else pretty much anywhere, and I think it's one of the best roller coasters by far. But number 1 is Fury 325 at Carowinds. This one is 325 feet tall, and it is legendary. I think it could be considered a perfect roller coaster. It has everything that makes a roller coaster great. You get thrown out of your seat with airtime, you get pushed into your seat with intensity, you have a very aesthetically pleasing ride, it's perfectly smooth the whole way through, the pacing is immaculate, some elements are unique, and I guess that is not technically the most insane trying to kill you type of ride like maybe Kingda Ka is, but it's fun, and I can't fault anything, so it is definitely deserving of a top spot. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this somewhat unique ranking. Subscribe for other rankings and check out many others that are already on the channel. I'll see you next time.